Well, I took a wrong step one day on a construction site and landed all on one foot, and it knocked me off my feet for a few years. And instead of sitting in front of the television set to recuperate, I sat in front of my wood lathe. And one thing led to another, and another, and another. And I keep pushing the limits on some of the things I do, and now it's become a full-time thing. After doing a few projects for people that were taking out family farms and things like that, it kind of got me hooked. So now I just keep doing what I see in the wood and letting it speak to me. And as much as I can share that with people, the better.
Well, I went to college to become an art teacher and tried that for a little bit and decided that's not where I wanted to go. And my former high school pottery teacher moved up to Sioux City, and I moved up there out of college and started doing pottery. And then a buddy of mine was moving to Kansas City, so I quit that and I moved down there with him because it was a big city and a lot of good stuff going on, and I started with my antique furniture restoration in Kansas City for 40 years. And when I moved back here to Cherokee, I had a little shop down there. I started doing that again. And then when I retired a couple years ago, I put a shop on my backyard, and by the time I moved all my tools in it, I didn't have any room to do it. So I stumbled across a couple canvases in my basement that my dad never threw away. He didn't throw away anything. And bought some paint, and started on it to see what it would work, and here we are. I'm addicted now. When I was in college, I really enjoyed surrealism, like Salvador Dali and that group, but I also really liked some of the modern people, well, I call modern, like Wassila Kandinsky and Moreau and that kind of stuff. Wasn't never really into a conventional paint somebody's face or trees and landscapes. I kind of just like moving paint around. And that's kind of what I do.
A lot of the pieces I do have what they call natural live edges. And in order to do that, you have to visualize where that edge is going to be before you even dive into it. So I let the surface of the wood a lot of times will dictate my inspired shape of the piece. How I want the edge to be kind of steers me in the direction of the size and shape. Other than that, it's just letting Mother Nature speak. It's that tree's last chance to have a voice. My favorite wood to work with is lilac because it's so hard and dense. It's really nice and cuts nice and clean and has a pleasant odor to it while you're working to it, instead of some of the nasty woods that you can't stand to work with.
Not very often, especially on the abstracts. I just decide, I try to do something that I haven't done yet. Like I started out was just a palette knife and paint and started moving it around. Did that for a while. And then I got, let's see what this is gonna do. I started squirting paint everywhere and took a squeegee and just started moving that around. That gave me a different kind of background. And then I use stencils and stuff and spray paint and just try to, do some three-dimensional stuff. And kind of, by the time I got done where I think I was done with it, then my, I don't know what you call it, trademark is I just throw some splatter, that, and then it's done. It works sometimes. Sometimes my wife says, oh, you overdid it. So, oh well. I don't go back and start over unless I really mess something up. But that's one thing nice about painting. If it doesn't flow and you're working too hard to try to make it work, it ain't gonna. Put a whitewash back over it and start over.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can't do that with wood.
So what happens when you do mess up?
Well, they used to become bird feeders. They don't seem to care what they look like. And a lot of wood turners will literally burn their mistakes because they don't want their mistakes to get out into the world. I can't bring myself to do that, so I started screwing them to a log hanging from a tree and used them as bird feeders. For a long time, I had a number of them, but nowadays I make fewer mistakes, so the bird feeders are kind of few and far between nowadays. But you're talking about your trademark. One of my trademark deals is putting an eyeball in whatever piece has got just the right size knot hole. And it's kind of went along with when I first started this. I used to always say that they're already in the wood. You only have to look for them. And I used to throw the eyeball in. But they're always peeking out, waiting to come out. So the fillers that I use are a polyester-based acrylic. So they have a slight flexibility to them instead of the real hard epoxies that some people are using for some of this stuff. And some of the fillers I'm using brass, aluminum. I just did a few pieces with zinc for the first time. I got a hold of some zinc. It's a little softer than copper. Maybe almost as hard as some brass, but it's more silver in color, so I got that silver. Aluminum didn't work the way I wanted it to, so I tried I'm still experimenting. I've only done it twice. You have to do it 3 times before it's not an experiment anymore. But everything is an experiment. And when you're working with Mother Nature, she changes my mind for me all the time. Every time I turn around.
Yeah, well, it's when I was back doing my antique furniture restoration. I'd have stuff left over, you know, whatnot, and I got my dad's habit, you don't throw anything away. You can use it for something. And then I would just come up with, you know, some people would give me some wood, like Perry stuff, he's got raw edge wood. I'd make tabletops, but then I'd make funky painted bases for them, so they were more of a art piece than just a wood piece. Then I'd go on like the wall sculptures. I thought, well, they're like paintings, but they're 3-dimensional. But I still paint on them, but then I use sometimes of exotic woods. You get like bird's eye maple is a really nice, got patterns, and all kinds of different woods, it's streaky stuff that makes it nice. And then for smaller stuff, you know, I started doing decorative boxes for like jewelry and candle holders. And I do make cremation boxes. I did one for both of us, and then a couple of the funeral parlors downtown have them, and most people know that I do it, will call me and ask me and stuff. And you know, they don't ask me what they want, and I don't like to do stuff like that. It's just kind of my idea brain, oh, I'm gonna do it. For myself, I found a little red sparkle drum set ornament, and I'm a drummer, and my very first drum set was red sparkle. So I got that sitting on top of my cremation urn, and it's elevated with drumsticks. and then some weird paint and stuff on it like that. My wife's is more not quite as crazy as mine.
So do you both do commission work, or?
I'm not doing as much as I used to. I still do a few once in a while.
If I want to do it, I will, you know. I still have some people coming up, since we had this big flood and that, they've got antique furniture that got really messed up. And if I can have the space in this, like the summertime, I don't do it in the winter because I got to be outside when I spray. or right at the garage door. But I'll try to help them. I'll try to do that because I hate to see it just get tossed. If it's able to come back, I'll do it. And yeah. But if they want a painting and stuff and they might want an idea, I don't get too enthused. But I have done it. But it's not one of my, it's more like work than when I got to do that, you know? So, yeah.
I have a hard time when people want a vase. Well, I throw that chunk of wood on the machine and it doesn't speak to me because it's just a plain chunk of wood. When I put a piece on that I want to turn, it's usually got a feature that I'm aiming for, or I have some sort of an idea. A lot of times before I even cut them out of the tree, because you only get one chance. Once you cut into that tree, it's
It is what it is.
written in stone, as they say.
They asked me back, I don't know, can't remember what, if I'd like to get juried in just to keep some of my stuff here all the time, like my clocks and decorative boxes and a couple wall sculptures. And I said, that's great. So I brought some up and they decided, yeah, this could happen. And then she called me the other day, well, it's been a while back, and she says, hey, there are artisans road trips going on. And I said, I wonder if you'd like to put on a show with Perry Polson. I go, man, I used to know Perry way back when he had his shop there and we were both in the artisans road trip, but that's been several years ago. So, yeah. So I jumped all over it, you know, since it was new stuff that I'm doing and I wasn't doing the wood stuff anymore. And I got to see him and more all of his stuff I didn't have because he doesn't have his shop there anymore. So it worked out great. And this is a nice little gallery, it is.
I still got a plan for getting on the road a little more with the mobile turning.
That'd be kind of neat.
I'm going to do some plein air wood turning.
Ooh.
Everybody does plein air painting.
Paintings, I know, yeah.
So I'm going to hit up some, I don't know, I got a plan to hit up some places that, you know, let me know when you're removing a bunch of trees type situation.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I can show up and I can spin out. You know, when it's green wood, you can spin them out pretty fast. Mm-hmm. But then it takes a year for that to dry so you can turn it again and make it round because they change shape so much.
I'm on Facebook a lot, and I put all my every time I do a new painting, I post it on there and stuff, so they can find me on Facebook, or I don't really have any other stuff going on yet. My work's here all year long on some of the smaller stuff. We'll see about the paintings once this is over.
I try to keep a selection here all the time and then have the new stuff out at the fair every year. But I've had people stop by the house and looking for that certain piece or something they've seen before. And then my steel sculptures, I sell those right out of my yard now and then because it's really cool stuff.
Yes, it is. If you like bizarre, abstract painting work with a little surrealism, you come to the right place. And Perry's stuff seems to fit right in with my kind of stuff too, you know.
I call it wood turning on the wild side.
There you go, yeah. Works perfect.